Our third and final Saturn-Uranus square occurs on Christmas Eve, December 24th, and the days leading up to it may be filled with certain drama and tension. However, since this is our third square of Saturn and Uranus, we've dealt with the two before in February and June, we will get a chance to approach things differently, perhaps deal with change in a more adaptive way, to integrate the challenges and bring them to a coherent state. In this video, I describe what Saturn-Uranus dynamic means in general, and I break it through all 12 rising signs. My name is Anastasia. For those of you who don't know, I'm a traditional Western astrologer. I do natal and predictive readings. You can check out the link to book one with me down below. I'm also currently doing year ahead readings. If you're interested to get one, you can find me and DM me on Instagram. But please subscribe to my channel if you're new. I post videos every week. I would really appreciate your support. So 3 squares, right? The first one was February 17th, second was June 14th, and now this is the final one on December 24th. Saturn and Uranus will come really close to another square in 2022. But it's never going to be perfect, right? It's going to get really close in September, October. So we can expect some more of those energies, but it's not going to be as strong as we've experienced it this year. So let's talk about these planets in general and talk about what having the two of them in a square means. Saturn is the last visible planet. Saturn is connected to limitations, hard work, duties, responsibilities. Saturn rules over hard stops in life. It's known for saying, not yet, don't rush, take your time to build something. And it really likes to build things. It's quite conservative in nature. Uranus is the opposite of that. Uranus is rebellious, eclectic, unusual, eccentric, freedom-loving, very much wants to follow the freedom and passion. So when you put two together, and square is a tense aspect, square is of nature of Mars, you create tension, you create conflict between those two energies, right? Between the new and the old, between staying, feeling safe and innovating and trying something new, between old ways of doing things and new circumstances, new information coming in. There might be changes that are imposed on you and sudden events happening in your life that create change that you're not quite ready for. And once again, look back at February 17th, June 14th to see what kind of energy might be coming your way. Do not respond by resisting. This transit is better handled with patience and care and hard work. But work towards those revolutionary things. Work towards being authentic and pursuing things that actually really make you happy and passionate. If you are dealing with conflicts with other people, it could also be a great moment for you to reflect and see what's missing in the way you communicate, what's missing in your relationships, and perhaps be innovative in those ways. Celeste from Astrology by Celeste says it a lot, and I think it makes a lot of sense that Uranus is connected to breakdowns or breakthroughs. So if you've dealt with this energy in the past, February and June, and if you broke down or if you felt frustrated and blocked somehow, use this opportunity to break through, right? Like instead of breaking down. Think of innovative ways of doing old things, modify, adapt, talk to people who are, more future oriented and can give you some advice. Saturn Uranus is not about no change. Saturn Uranus is about slow, incremental, step-by-step kind of change. So if Uranus wants to start new things, Saturn is saying you have to put in the work. It's the same if you want to start a business, you first need to make sure you have some money to fall back on, right? Like if your business doesn't bring any money the first year, if you want to present the project, you have to do the work. If you want to start a cult, you have to get people to follow you. I'm joking. Don't start a cult. But all this is saying this entire year is be patient and keep working on yourself, keep working on the projects, and you will find success. So let's take it through all 12 rising signs. It's going to be rather quick. Just take a look at those areas in your chart and see how they contradict one another and how you can find a way to find freedom in there. So for Aries rising, Saturn is currently in your 11th and Uranus is in your 2nd. And Uranus in the 2nd is likely making you want to pursue things and make money through things that are scientific and fun and exciting for you. But then Saturn in the 11th is saying that you cannot quite do it yet because you have to first come up with a proper solid plan, for example. Like you cannot quite go towards your opportunities because maybe you rely on others, because maybe you have commitments. It can also bring conflict between your values and those of others. And of course, you are encouraged to redefine your values, find new sources of income, try things that are exciting for you, but make sure you are bringing in solid support network and have a plan. Like you cannot just quit your job if you do not have a plan. Saturn in the 11th really is asking you to be solid and secure. For Taurus rising, Saturn is in your 10th house, Uranus is in your 1st house. There's been a lot of tension for Taurus risings between things they want to pursue, between things that bring them joy, and things that they have to do, like all the duties they have to their bosses. Even on an inner level, maybe you want to move to a new country, maybe you want to start a brand new career and become a writer, for example, but you also have a job that pays the bills and you have to work really hard. I feel like for most of Taurus risings, this year has been just like lots and lots of work and not a lot of excitement. So there might just be a sense of whatever. Like if you've dealt in the middle of this year, if you felt like, forget about responsibilities, I'm just gonna go and do something that I enjoy, maybe something happened and broke down. Maybe you broke a bone or your health kind of suffered or anything like that. It is about that careful dance between your personal goals and your professional responsibilities. So it may feel like you've been working endlessly, but I promise if you stay patient and continue working with a solid plan in mind, you will find success. For Gemini rising, Saturn is in your 9th house and Uranus is in your 12th house. So Saturn being in the 9th house may have inspired you to travel or to pursue a new course of study, to start writing, to start a podcast, become a teacher of some kind, like any kind of things that you wanted to pursue in education, travel, philosophy, religion, may have been blocked by things happening that are out of your control, with Uranus being in your 12th house. Uranus in the 12th house might also just inspire you to break away from your old ways of doing things, because 12th house deals with isolation and self-undoing tendencies and perhaps a tendency to put your own needs second. And I think this Saturn-Uranus square might be like, well, if you want to pursue these things, if you see them, you can almost taste them. Like, what do you need to let go of? Maybe it's listening to other people. Maybe it's trying to satisfy them. It might be rather challenging. There might be some kind of loss that you have to go through. But 12th house is like birthing pains. You have to go through it to get out on the other side. Use spirituality, religion, philosophy, astrology, tarot, any kind of any faith, anything you believe can be a great source of support for you. Because if things don't seem to make sense, it's just for the time being. And if you believe that there's a higher plan for you, you will get through it and you will overcome it. For Cancer rising, all year you've been dealing with Saturn in your 8th house and Uranus in your 11th. And so Uranus in the 11th makes you want freedom to pursue new things, to socialize with people, to do some kind of, like exciting projects maybe that deal with community and society, maybe start some kind of like social media project, maybe just, I think, like work with people in some regard to inspire, pioneer projects, pursue new goals, while Saturn in the 8th house is saying like, not yet, there's some karma, there's some things that you have to do, there's some dependencies you have on others or other people depend on you. You may have heard me mention this, but my best friend is a Cancer rising, and for her, literally, she is a mother of a 2-year-old child. So her goals are very much limited by the duties she has to her parent, and then her mother kind of stepping in and helping her. There's just like a sense of being entangled. And if you've dealt with this energy early in the year, February and June, and if you felt like pushing back and like starting something, you may have gotten held back, or you may have fallen on your face, realizing that you're not quite free. So Saturn Uranus is still encouraging you to pursue new things and set new goals for yourself, but make sure to find a way to untangle yourself from these dependencies you have. 8th house also deals with healing, so maybe there's certain healing you have to do, releasing, cleansing, breakthroughs and therapy may come for you for sure. So look within and also perhaps ask yourself what has gotten you into this tough dependent state in the first place. For Leo rising, Saturn in Aquarius is in your 7th house and Uranus in Taurus is in your 10th house. Look back at February 17th, June 14th, and see what was happening between your professional and your personal sector. Saturn in the 7th is encouraging you all year to take responsibilities for your relationships. Saturn in the 7th may make relationships feel kind of hard and like there's a lot of pushback. Maybe your partner is not being supportive of your career. Maybe you feel like they're holding you back somehow, while Uranus in the 10th is encouraging you to pursue new things and to find professional independence. This might be tricky, right? Like because you're trying to navigate and balance your profession and your relationship, and maybe you've met someone new and you feel like this new relationship is taking away from your professional goals. Try to approach anything that comes up with honesty and talk to people involved. Pursue your professional goals, but definitely try to find balance where you're not giving too much and you're not feeling like one side of your life gets the short end of the stick. For Virgo rising, Saturn is in your 6th house and Uranus is in your 9th house. So you may have been dealing this year with a desire to learn something new, to move somewhere, to like start teaching. Maybe you are working on a course of study and you kind of feel like done with it. Maybe you feel like ready to graduate and you don't care anymore. Or you feel excited to move. But there is a lot of work involved. Like Saturn in the 6th house is asking you to be more diligent with your health, with your routines, with your like day-to-day minutia of life. Maybe it's quite literal, right? Like maybe you want to be a teacher, but you also have a day job that is taking a lot of your time and that can create a source of frustration. Maybe you want to teach, or you want to take a project that is more in touch, more aligned with your beliefs, but first you have to make sure you have solid structures. You have a good flow through your day, you have the right schedule, you have the right resources, and it may feel boring for you, but it's also very necessary, I would say. Saturn is never just like, you can't get it because you can't get it. Saturn is always like you have to work harder, you have to invest more time and more energy. For Libra rising, Saturn is in your 5th house in Aquarius and Uranus is in your 8th house. So this entire year, there's tension between your house of creativity, romance, children, joy, and your karmic debts and responsibilities you have to others. Maybe you have recently become a parent and now you feel like the joy is lacking in your life and you really need to figure out a way to, I feel like you really probably just want to be free of all the heaviness and all the drama, right? Like Venus is retrograding in your 4th house, making you perhaps face some of the darkness and some of the challenges. So there might be a desire to break free and find healing, but you have children, but you have creative responsibilities. Maybe your relationship is feeling a little bit kind of like stuck and boring. And this is encouraging you to find that balance between healing, between inner work and your presence, and maybe find new ways to have fun. And don't just like rush, don't be impulsive. Because if you are impulsive, it can backfire, basically, right? Like if you're just like, oh, this person is amazing, then maybe you start dating them and they trigger some kind of fears in you because you haven't quite addressed your fears. There might be changes in your partner's finances with this as well, because Uranus being in the 8th house, maybe they lose their job, or it doesn't have to be negative, or like, you know, they gain money and that changes the way you approach fun. You may be dealing with projects that make you smile versus projects that you have to do to pay the bills. And I think like learning to be more diligent with the projects that you choose and where you devote your energy, and perhaps invest a lot of time in like inner healing, and proceed with caution. Remember, don't just like jump into things like relationships or creative pursuits, because you want to be careful with where you're stepping. For Scorpio rising, all year Saturn has been in your 4th house and Uranus has been in your 7th. And this is quite literally tension between romantic sector and family sector. Perhaps your desire to date is limited by your family. Maybe your family literally just like, maybe you live with your parents, right? And you cannot bring a date home. Maybe your family is just like super involved and keeps trying to meddle and tell you what to do. You are called to try and find a better balance between the needs of your partner and the needs of your family. And it's also possible that your partner is the one that's dealing with all these challenges between, you know, what they would rather do and what their family expects of them. So there's definitely a possibility of a breakthrough and finding a different way of doing things. Just think about it in a way of like, what have I not done yet? What is a different way of approaching the situation? And it could be quite helpful, and you know, maybe you experience a flash of lightning and you realize something. So for Sag rising, Saturn is in your 3rd house and Uranus is in your 6th house. Uranus in the 6th, I think, just feels very limited by old ways of doing things. Old structures, old matters surrounding health, old way of paying bills, just kind of like whatever was normal for you, I think with Uranus in the 6th house will be challenged. So even if you've been eating the same thing every day, or you know, you've been working for the same place for a really long time, Uranus will be like, this is not fun. We got to break free from the old ways of doing things. While Saturn being in your 3rd is likely going to say you have to make sure you have the skills. You have to make sure you put in the work. You have to make sure you're communicating honestly. So Saturn this year, all of the next year, is really encouraging you to take charge and to get that knowledge, you know, to take that writing course, to structure your schedule in a way where you are streamlining and letting go of all the clutter. So remain patient and focus on improving yourself and your daily life. For Capricorn rising, Saturn is in your 2nd house of money and Uranus is in your 5th house. So Uranus in the 5th is encouraging you to have more joy in life. And that joy might be coming from being a parent. Maybe you're trying to become a parent. Maybe you're trying to start a creative project or get a creative project off the ground. Whatever it might be, Saturn in the 2nd is telling you that you have to make sure you have enough resources first. Saturn is saying, like, you know, you have to have the bank account that is supportive of your desire to become a parent. You have to invest into your creative pursuits by maybe taking a class. Definitely, maybe, you know, like if you are a parent already, maybe you are struggling with the fact that your fun is limited by needing to take care of your child, and maybe a lot of money is going into their education. So definitely try to find balance between having fun and saving. You don't want to just like lean too much or too heavily in one side and forget about the other. Find also, I think, like maybe you can brainstorm with Saturn Uranus. Maybe you can find ways to make money creatively or spend money on things that are enjoyable to you. So definitely try to revise the way you handle finances and look back at February 17th, June 14th this year, and see how you handled the pressure back then. For Aqua rising, Saturn is in your first house and Uranus is in the fourth house. So Uranus in the fourth may have inspired you to move. I know an Aquarius rising that moved. Maybe it kind of brought changes in your home. They're not always happy or easy. I mean, they could be happy, but it's not easy. Like Uranus in the house of home and family, safety and security can make you feel shaky. And so Saturn in the first is really asking you to take responsibility and to step up and like act in a very grown-up and mature way. And whether that mature way deals with, you know, separating from the drama, or it means you're stepping up and becoming a serious kind of like patriarch or matriarch of your family, there seems to be, for a time being, less freedom as far as where you want to be, where you want to live. And even what makes you feel secure. Maybe you have to really show up in a way where like you're so austere and like serious, and maybe some of the fun is taken out of it. But I promise, if you stay patient and if you work really hard, you will come out on the other side and you will find security in the home, or maybe move to a new place. And Pisces rising, Saturn is in your 12th house and Uranus is in the 3rd house. So Uranus in the 3rd is likely encouraging you to pursue new things and like experiment, you know, gather new skills, learn something new, explore your neighborhood or explore things that you already possess. Just kind of look at things in a different way. And I think Saturn, and another thing with Uranus in the 3rd house, I think you really just want to make your own schedule. You want to be free to do whatever you want, to go wherever you want, and like to not be tied up, because 3rd house is like your immediate environment and Uranus wants freedom. While Saturn in the 12th house might be throwing things like sudden surprises your way. Maybe there's past issues, maybe there's some kind of self-undoing tendencies. You know, Saturn in the 12th, like there might be a tendency to give a lot to other people and maybe not enough to yourself, or maybe you are struggling with like a breakup that you've been through in the past and you haven't fully addressed it, and it keeps haunting you, it keeps coming back. And until you face that, until you face things and honestly say that, you know, this is what happened to me, and take responsibility for it, it might still be coming back to you. Or until you realize that maybe you've been giving too much time to your family, or you've been too caught up with your siblings, anything like that. Basically, take charge of your own destiny, step away from the role of things just happen to me. And I mean, they do, of course, like with Saturn in the 12th house, there might be a feeling of just like, you know, things are happening to you, but Saturn in the 12th is also encouraging inner growth and development, and it gives you the power to overcome difficulty. Just be patient and keep working on your mental health and your inner well-being, and think of things in your daily life that are just energy drainers, you know. They don't give you anything good, they just take away your power, and maybe release some of those. This is all I have. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.